How's it going, everyone? It is Thursday, August 15th, 2024. Let's get into the picks from the prior video. I gave Cisco as an earnings time spread. You can see the stock had gapped up. If I go to my earnings time spreads here, we have a change of about 7.2%. We're going to see how that change did relative to what was priced in. So expected move was about 7.69%. It didn't beat the average move, but fell within that expected range. So I check out what Cisco is trading at right now. We are going to check the change if we buy the 45.5. So that's selling for about 8 cents mid. Got it at 13 cents, so that would have been a small loss. However, I actually was able to take profits on the same day. So we go back to Cisco over here. I got in, and this should actually be the 45.5 calls for a 13-cent debit around here at 250, and then I exited for a 16-cent credit at 345. So I originally had an order for about a 17 cents credit, so about a cent more. But I saw it was creeping up higher. I figured, well, I don't mind taking a decent gain here, a 23% gain on this, and closing it out same day where I don't have any risk. I also knew that the times exceeded, the difference versus the times exceeded wasn't as ideal, so I was fine with taking the win on the same day. So Cisco ended up being a pretty good win. Not the greatest win, but a win is a win. I prefer to get at least a little bit more on a Thursday time spread, but if you're closing it same day, I think anything above 20% is a nice win. Okay, so now let's take a look at our picks. Let's take a look at the market first. Just give us some context as to what's happening, and then we can take a look at our swing picks. So, market had a gap up, and it is keeping those gains. So we had a close just kind of around the 50-day SMA yesterday. We had some back and forth price action. You can see that we tested both sides here, going up, going down. Not really able to get much going here. We closed kind of right wedge between the 50 SMA and the AVWAP-E. Today we had a gap up, and a lot of this gap up came after hours on the economic releases at 12:30. We got a few different releases. First, we had retail sales. It came in at 1% versus 0.3% expected. We also had initial jobless claims come in slightly under 227K versus about 234K expected. And I'm double checking that right now. $235K expected. We also had a big boost in retail sales. We take out autos. Retail sales ex auto 0.4% versus 0.1%. So retail sales, I think, has not really been a market moving event, but market does seem to have reacted to that piece of information. Philly manufacturing, Empire State manufacturing, import-export prices, to me, I feel like is not those are very minor pieces of economic data. Market tends to not really pay a lot of attention to them. They're not really market-moving events. But this tells us that there is some significance over here. Now, I do like to monitor retail sales because about 2/3 of GDP is driven by consumption, so retail sales is a nice proxy for that consumption. Okay, so we got this bump up from retail sales. Now, I mentioned in my market comments that you'll see, and I posted these to the one option chat this morning, that look, we get a gap up over here. We could get a little bit of bid check, and if this holds within the first hour, we have a chance of grinding up higher. So that's kind of what's happening here. We got test 1, test 2 poked a little bit lower, but we kind of just held those same gains, and then we got nice consecutive tiny green candles higher. So when you see this move, that's when you know that we are able to move a little bit higher, and that's when you want to get in on these relatively strong stocks, the ones that are moving up while the market was going flat. So I think that was your best bet on intraday basis. On a daily chart, this gap up of the holes tells me that we're confirming above this 50 of SMA. We're getting above this downward sloping trend line coming from the all-time high and hitting this August 1st candle. So if we're able to close above this level, that tells us that this is a taller bounce, and I think a little bit taller than even I expected. I was ready for this to come up over here, test some of these levels. But if it keeps on going, that tells me that it's a little bit more bullish than I expected. So what does that mean? Well, it means that one, I would be partly wrong, right? Because I'm thinking, look, we might even take some heat here, but I don't think we're going to get much past this level. And the reason I felt that way is because the selling pressure was aggressive. Now you can see with this upward sloping trend line, we have a very steep trend on the way up, and we're moving through this trend pretty strongly, right? You can see a lot more green candles than red candles. We're making higher highs. But again, like I've been pointing out, the way that we've been moving up to me has just not felt super convincing. I think, maybe something like the 13th was the most convincing bullish day, but a lot of the move on the way up has been this very low volume grind where there has been a tailwind, but not a lot of volume, not a lot of, convincing over here. It just really feels like a seller's boycott versus something that is aggressively buying, especially off the fact that we had a big drop. So to me, I think this is buyers taking their shot, moving the market up here. They're trying to see what they can get at this level. Now, the main question that I have right now is I do think we're going to get another leg lower, but my question is how deep is that leg going to be? The higher we bounce, the less likely it is that we're able to test that 200 SMA. Now, nothing's out of the woods yet here, but couple scenarios that I see. So the ideal scenario for our case is because we're positioned on the short side, we'd like to see this market try to stall and then start to roll over. Now, bounces don't last forever. I think we are going to see a stall at some point, and we have to see if the market is able to be knocked down from the all-time high, if sellers are going to defend that position, if they're going to come in earlier. So we're watching to see if that happens. So we're taking some heat on these because we knew we got in a little bit early. But that's what we expected, right? That's what in some cases, you have to be mentally prepared to take some of the heat. We're spread across different sectors. Some are doing well, some are not doing well. And we're also sized accordingly. We have 5 positions, but we're not overloaded on all these positions. All right. So long term, again, fundamental bias, I'm still mildly bullish. On a technical basis, I'm still bearish here. The drop on the way down is going to tell me if that long-term bias needs to change. Shorter term, we are bullish. We've been mildly bullish pretty much the whole time here. A couple times where we've been neutral when we're waiting to see if we confirm above these levels, but so far we have been slowly grinding through these levels, pushing our way up. Intraday bias, I am mildly bullish again. We have a little bit of a dip coming over here. Let's see if this ends up catching fire, or if buyers actually end up defending this level here, defending a VWAP. So a couple scenarios here. If we get a kind of a weak bounce, maybe hit VWAP, we could find some nice relatively strong stocks. If this kind of gets some steam over here, we could find some nice relatively weak stocks. So we took our profits on Cisco. Let's take a look at our positions right now. So here's ALB. After a nice leg lower, ALB has had a small gap up, is rallying over here, testing these levels. So pulling back a little bit, retesting this level. Not crazy worried about that. We're going to give it till the candle close. Wells Fargo had a gap up. Testing this gap up, got pretty close, above that 200-day SMA. Looks like it has been selling off after that, unable to really rally with the market. So I'm going to set alert low of the day. We'll see what happens over here. Qualcomm is also seeing a little bit of sector rotation, but not a ton. We're able to confirm above that 200-day SMA. Qualcomm has been rallying with the market, but has still been pretty weak. Set an alert on this trend line here. Lets me know that this is breaking through, and set an alert at the low of the day. WBA, again, also testing this level, testing the 8 EMA, and holding that level fairly well, not bouncing with the market. And finally, our good friend, Mr. MRK. Yeah, rejecting again from that A VWAP E. Has been red the whole day. There's some weakness, some selling and defensive. So also a weak stock. So as far as stock picks goes, I think we have 5 very good picks in my opinion. 5 excellent picks. They're holding up well in this market move. What we're just waiting on is the market, right? The market has been bullish. So that's a good sign for me. I'd rather be wrong. Well, I'd rather be right about both. But if I have to be wrong about one, I'd rather get the stock right in this case, because that tells me that my stock pick is good, and I was able to spot the right signs, and I knew the risk and the potential of happening in the market. Now we have a couple of red candles here. This seems to be accelerating a little bit. Let's take a look at VXX. This is going to be important. So after the fifth, VIX had skyrocketed here, coming back down to earth in the last stages of the rally. Let's take a look if it actually ends up doing anything today. So when it's been creeping higher, and if we put up our SPY overlay, right, it was creeping up higher. Now market's higher, and this is going up higher. All right, that's fine. And now market's flat, and now VIX is starting to crawl up higher and higher. So that's a little bit of a forward-looking sign. Sorry, I got an email. A little bit of a forward-looking sign to see. Okay, well, if this starts to really skyrocket, right, really, really skyrocket, then we know that there may be a little bit of selling over here. But we have a couple of red candles. Nothing to panic about. Just watching to see the reaction over here. So let's find some strong stocks in each case. Loading up over here. Nice, good stuff from MRK. So ASTS has been pretty nice over here. Looks like it is holding these gains. There was a bit of a profit target. I saw one bank had a profit target at 30, so there may be a little bit of selling at the $30 level, which is what we're seeing. But the stock is holding up pretty well. I think the best time to enter the stock would have been earlier in the day as it's breaking through some of these levels, as it's grinding up a little bit higher, maybe around 1050. That's the time to get in. NVIDIA has been nice as well, moving up higher. Now it's been compressing. It is holding its own. Let's look at CLS. Beautiful grinder here, holding its own also relative to the market, getting through the 200-day SMA. So I like CLS quite a bit here. Beautiful move. Teva has also been breaking out of D1 compression here. All right, you can see that here is the level. We're really trying to get through this level here. If I were to draw this trend line, it's not the best one, but you can see there's a little bit of a trend line here. Looks like there's some horizontal, bit of a horizontal range there as well. A couple of pokes, but nothing really crazy. But it has been holding up pretty well. I'm going to set the high of the day. Be able to hold all these gains and get a little bit higher. I think we have something pretty decent on Teva there. Shack is looking good, but it is hitting this high, so we'd want it to clear this high. I'm going to set an alert here. If it can clear that high, we could be in business. Google has been actually on the weaker side today. Now it's rallying a little bit, but you can see how it's not really been responding to the market in this rally. So that was a nice, relatively weak short, I think pointed out by Otto in the chat. TSM was looking pretty nice earlier, pulling back a little bit here. So let's see if this gets breached on the downside. Shop was a nice long. Yeah, came back, tested this level, so it's holding the gains. D1's looking decent, has some room to fill in that gap. Got a ping here. So I'm going to set an alert at the high of the day. If it can get through that level, then we could be in business. EXTR, I believe this was a nice long early in the day. It looks like it may be giving back some of the gains. We have a bit of a bid check, gap up, bid check here. Could be decent. It is gaining a little bit of relative strength. If we can clear this candle, there could be perhaps a buying opportunity, although it's not the best long setup here. PDD was nice, gave back some of the gains, finding support at the gap, holding that level here. Yeah, not crazy about that. So I think my favorite pick here is probably going to be something like CLS long. If the market finds support over here and CLS is compressing, I think we have a nice chance to just grind a little bit higher. I think that is going to be my pick of the day. So that's it. CLS day trade. Let's put that in the books. 815 CLS long day trade on a relative strength. Another pick I want to give over here as well is going to be AMAT as a earnings time spread. So let's take a look at the stock here. So earnings, whoops, let's remove that alert. Earnings after the close today. Stock has been rallying a little bit, coming back down a little bit. So I'm going to wait perhaps a few candles here, maybe get closer to the end of the day before I take this strike price. But I like the setup on here. Low times exceeded, good difference, decent option liquidity. If I look at the times right here, let's say I take the 207, which has IV of this week of 1.12, and you buy that 1.12 versus 0.56. So yeah, that is about 0.56 there. Yep, so you can get that for a decent debit, 1.65 debit. So I would be looking at that for an earnings time spread. So let's add that here. And I'll wait a little bit longer on the strike prices. You could do the 210s, you could do the 207.50s, whichever one is maybe a little bit closer, depending on what the market does. All right, that is it for today's video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll take a look at what the market did and how our picks are doing tomorrow.